On my birthday, I planned to surprise my husband, but I ended up waiting for him all night. He said he was negotiating a contract in another city, but I saw him at the hospital, holding a woman in his arms. She joked, "Aren't you worried your wife will cause trouble since you're with me on her birthday?" Jack looked calm. "She's more understanding than you think. I can make it up to her easily." Later, I tore up the pregnancy test results in front of him and threw down the divorce papers. Jack broke down. "No, you're the only one who makes my house a home." After my 5th call to Jack, his phone was off. His last message was from 10 minutes ago. "Babe, I'm out of town for a contract. Can't come back tonight. Happy birthday." I looked at the dinner I had carefully prepared. Suddenly, I had no appetite. I threw the pregnancy test results onto the couch. I sat for a long time, touching my still flat stomach, and smiled. Jack had no idea about this surprise. I thought about how he'd begged me for a child and got mad when I said no. I picked up my phone again and messaged him, "Come back soon, or I won't tell you the surprise." He finally called me before bed. "Babe, sorry, my phone died earlier. I'll bring you a gift when I get back. Get some sleep. I love you." His voice sounded shaky. We only talked for a few minutes before he said it was too late and hung up. The words "Jack, I'm pregnant" got stuck in my throat. I felt like Jack had changed. He used to call me every night to say goodnight, even if it was late. When he was on business trips, he would call until I fell asleep. Once, he heard me having trouble sleeping during a trip, and he rushed back the next night, despite his work. But now, he came home exhausted and went straight to bed every night. I felt sorry for him. Maybe he really was just too busy. I opened the curtains a bit, letting the moonlight flood the bed. Without Jack's arms around me, I couldn't sleep well. Jack didn't come home for a whole week. He sent people to deliver many gifts, all the latest items. Chanel was always my favorite brand. Since Jack's company took off, he never forgot to buy me the latest. I flipped through the gifts meaninglessly and took the car keys to go out. I was only 1 month pregnant, and the doctor said the fetus was not stable. I took the report, distractedly responding to my mom on the phone. She sounded upset. "You're pregnant, and Jack's still away for work, making you go to checkups alone." "Mom, I haven't told him yet." I defended Jack. She sighed on the other end. "You're always covering for him. I don't think he cares about you enough." I smiled, then saw a familiar figure. Jack, wasn't he supposed to be out of town? I hurriedly ended the call with my mom and followed him. I was about to call out to him when I saw him turn into a hospital room. I approached and peeked through the half-closed door. What I saw was something I had never expected. Jack tenderly held a girl on the bed and kissed her face. He checked the bandaged area on her arm carefully. Through the door, I faintly heard Jack's voice. "How does it feel? Still hurt?" The girl pouted and whined, "It hurts. Blow on it for me." Jack smiled indulgently and bent down to blow on the bandage, then lightly kissed it. I clenched the test results in my hand, my nails digging into my palm without me noticing. I grabbed my phone and called Jack. The two in the room fell silent when they heard the ringtone. The girl pouted, pushing Jack away, but Jack kissed her to calm her down and answered the call without hiding anything. "Babe, what's up? Where are you? When will you be home?" I tried to keep my voice steady. The Jack on the phone chuckled. "Miss me?" Meanwhile, the girl was slowly unbuttoning his shirt. She slipped her slender hand under his shirt, and he grabbed it, playing with her wrist. I took a deep breath, but couldn't help feeling sick, gagging a few times. Jack suddenly pushed the girl's hand away, stood up, and walked to the window. "Babe, what's wrong? Are you feeling okay?" He sounded anxious. Outside the room, my tears started to fall. "Nothing. I just ate something bad. Come home soon." "I told you not to eat junk food," Jack said. "I'll come back tonight. Call me if you feel worse." After he hung up, he hugged the girl on the bed again. He softly comforted her. "Jealous? You're acting like a child." With tears in her eyes, the girl accused, "I'll always be second to your wife." Jack patted her back, kissing away her tears bit by bit. "Didn't you want a bag? I'll get it for you." Soon, they were kissing again. The girl buried her face in his chest, gasping, "Aren't you afraid your wife will get mad since you spent her birthday with me?" Jack held her with one hand. The other hand wandered under her clothes, making her moan. He remained calm. "She's more understanding than you. It's easy to make it up to her." I was outside filming. The man I'd shared my life with for 5 years now seemed completely unrecognizable. At times, I wanted to burst in and confront him about why, but I didn't want to make it too embarrassing for both of us, so I held back. Maybe it's because I never thought Jack, who loves me so much, would cheat. That night, Jack rushed back home, holding a bag in his hand. He stood at the door, changing his shoes, and turned his head to shout at me as I sat on the couch. "Babe," he shook the bag a bit. "Look, a new item, your husband got it for you." Just staring at him, my eyes started to fill with tears. That scene during the day felt like a dream, too unreal. But Jack hadn't even taken off his coat, carrying a whiff of perfume that wasn't his. He didn't even notice it himself. When that scent got closer, my tears suddenly fell. "What's wrong?" Jack asked in a panic, pulling me into his arms. He hurriedly took out a bag full of medicine. "Does your stomach still hurt? I got some medicine, let's take one first." "Get lost." I slapped his hand away. Jack stood there for a long time, holding a cup of water, not knowing what to do. After a while, he put the cup down, knelt on one knee on the couch, and tried to hold me. He kissed my face, full of tears, just like he kissed that girl. Just like he said, "I'll make it better." So, Jack lowered his tone and patiently explained, "I'm sorry I missed your birthday." He placed his palm gently on my stomach, rubbing it lightly. "And I wasn't there when you got sick. It was my fault. It won't happen again." His nose nudged my neck as he said, "How about I throw you another birthday party?" I didn't respond. His breath got heavier, and there was a hint of nervousness in his voice. "Mary, say something. What's going on?" "Jack, I'm pregnant." I handed him the pregnancy test results. The person by my neck froze for a moment. He quickly looked at the paper, turning it over several times. Even his hand on my stomach became cautious. He laughed. "Mary, I'm going to be a dad." Jack buried his face in my stomach, giving it a gentle kiss. Hot tears fell down his face. He held my waist, sobbing uncontrollably. I turned my head, my fingers brushing over his hair and landing on his shoulder. In Jack's confused and teary gaze, I pushed him away abruptly. While I was hugging the toilet, throwing up, he stood by. He tried to come closer, but I snapped, "Stay away from me." I bit my lower lip, staring pale-faced at myself in the mirror. Jack clenched his fists, his face pale as he looked at me. In the silence, he asked, "Babe, did you see a doctor?" Why such a strong reaction? I did. I washed my face and stood before him. "Maybe the baby doesn't like you. I feel nauseous whenever you're close." Jack forced a smile and whispered, "How could that be?" "Babe, are you still mad at me?" He carefully held my hand, his eyes reddish. That piercing pain slowly spread through my body again. Giving up on Jack was like peeling off layers of my skin. We dated for 2 years and got married for 5. I stayed by him from having nothing to our current successful life everyone admired. And yet, at his peak moment, he secretly kept someone else outside. At night, Jack hugged me as usual, keeping me warm. My constitution is weak, my limbs often cold. When Jack had no money, he'd warm me with his body heat. Over time, it became a habit. Without his embrace, I found it hard to sleep. But tonight, as he got close, I couldn't stop thinking about how he held and kissed that girl. I wrapped myself tightly in the quilt, only slightly showing my head. Jack, with the quilt, hugged me, his breath warm on my neck. "Tomorrow, I'll go with you to see a doctor," he said. "Okay." He breathed deeply, almost pleading. "Sorry, I didn't know the surprise would be like this. From now on, I'll stay with you more often. I won't leave you alone again." His gentle voice, once soothing, now felt cold to the bone. If that girl appeared before me, could you still be this calm? The next day, I got in the car, and Jack bent over to buckle my seatbelt. "Which hospital?" He habitually tried to kiss me on the cheek, but I turned away. "DC Hospital." My voice was cold. Jack's waist straightened instantly. When I frowned at him, he masked it with a smile. He started the car, pretending to be casual. "That's the farthest one from home. Why go there? It's a hassle." I looked at my phone. My friend's brother works there. He's in obstetrics, and can help a lot. Jack's grip on the steering wheel paused, his lips pressed into a thin line. But he didn't say anything, just held my hand again after a while. "I have friends in hospitals too. Next time, you don't need to trouble others." I smiled weakly, pulling my hand away. "Focus on driving." Jack loved it when I needed his help. He said it made him very happy to feel needed by me. The sincere boy who blushed confessing under the sycamore tree wouldn't have imagined. Years later, the one who fell for me first would be the first to change his heart. Throughout the drive, Jack's phone rang many times. Each time, he declined the call, but the caller was persistent. "Answer it, in case it's something urgent." "Scam call, ignore it." Jack probably didn't even notice the helplessness in his voice. I closed my eyes slowly, my hand unconsciously resting on my stomach. It seemed the timing of this child was unfortunate after all. When did it all start? I tried to think back, but I couldn't figure out when that girl got between us. Maybe I trusted Jack too much to notice any differences in him. Who would have thought that Jack, who cried like a baby at our wedding, who said he'd go to hell if he ever wronged me, would just quietly betray me like that. After the checkup, Jack was still pestering the doctor. She was really sick last night. Is she really okay? The doctor chuckled. The baby is healthy. It's just the mom's a bit weak. She needs more nutrition. Jack sighed in relief, but then started asking all sorts of questions. The doctor patiently explained everything. He even smiled at me. Your husband really loves you a lot. Before, I would have hugged Jack's arm and proudly admitted it, but now, I glanced at the anxious man beside me. He still loved me, but not only me. Jack had split his love in two. Half for me and half for that girl outside. Let's go. I tugged at his sleeve. Don't bother the doctor anymore. On our way down, I took a different route. Jack followed me, holding my waist and glancing at the checkup sheet. When we got to the 5th floor, he stopped. Why didn't we take the elevator? He said, trying to turn us around. Jack's steps faltered, because that girl was standing not far ahead, tearfully looking at him. I took his arm and said lightly, let's walk. We haven't walked and talked like this in a while. With each step, Jack's body grew stiffer, his smile more forced. When I stopped in front of the girl, she was already in tears. Jack, I'm in so much pain, she said. Jack hadn't reacted yet, but I was stunned. When I was 20, we had just started dating. He was a poor student, working part-time everywhere. One time, he got hurt by a picky customer. I cried my eyes out while tending to his wounds. I said the same thing back then. Jack, I'm in pain. He panicked and asked where it hurt. I pointed to my heart. Here. Jack's eyes reddened and he made me a promise. Mary, I'll make something of myself. I'll give you a good life. I always believed in him. Get away from me. Hearing the noise, I looked in that direction. Jack was frowning and roughly pushed the girl's hand off his sleeve. He leaned toward me. Baby, don't overthink it. We've only met a few times. Jack tenderly wiped away my tears, but I saw the girl standing behind him. She bit her lip unwillingly, looking so pitiful and envious. Loving someone else's husband and intruding on a marriage was both hateful and pitiful. Jack's voice was still ringing in my ears. She's an employee from my company. There was a fire at her place. She got hurt. I visited her a few times. There's nothing between us. I don't know what she means by this. He turned around and sternly said, Lisa, what are you doing? Apologize to my wife right now. Lisa lowered her head. Tears dropped to the floor. She didn't say a word. It was clear who she was challenging. Jack looked down at her, and I stared at him. The grip around my waist hurt, but it couldn't compare to the suffocating pain in my heart. I closed my eyes, stepped in front of Lisa, and lifted her chin to make her look up. If that's the case, then fire her. Lisa was still young and forgot her place for a moment. She slapped my hand away, looking incredulous. Who do you think you are to get me fired? He hasn't said a thing, she retorted, pointing to Jack. Such impudence. Jack stepped beside me. Wife, she's just a small employee. Don't lower yourself to her level. I clenched my fists. Jack calling me a wife out in public was his way of asking me to give him some face. Men loved to play the obedient husband as if it was such an honor for their wives, saying they love you, yet it didn't stop them from cheating. How despicable. I stared at Lisa. I am Jack's wife. I own shares in the company. Don't I have the right? You don't know I'm the daughter of the group's chairman, do you? Your boss works for my father-in-law. I leisurely took a tissue from my bag and wiped the finger that touched her chin. With Jack's unpleasant expression, I said blankly, not only can I fire you, I have the power to fire your boss too. Mary, Jack said, suppressing his anger. I let out a few dry laughs and stared straight into his eyes. Jack, right now, I want you to fire her. Lisa ran away crying. Before she left, she shouted to Jack, you'll regret this. What employee dares to talk to their boss like that? It's impossible there isn't something going on between them. I kept a cold face until we got to the car. Jack tried talking to me several times, but I ignored him. In the car, he ignored my resistance and hugged me, burying his head in my shoulder. Baby, I wasn't defending her. You just embarrassed me. How can I maintain my authority now? If you don't like her, I'll fire her. Just don't be mad. I closed my eyes and forced a bitter smile. Really, I think Lisa likes you quite a lot. Jack chuckled. So you're jealous. He straightened up and tucked my hair behind my ear. Then he kissed my earlobe. Don't worry, I only love you. Back in school, many girls liked Jack. How to describe him back then? A person who remained strong despite difficulties. Along with his good looks and excellent grades, no one doubted he would succeed. I was Jack's first love, he said. Pursuing you took all my courage. Under a sycamore tree, he practiced his confession hundreds of times, but he was still stuttering when he confessed. Not like now, cheating without even blinking. Lisa did get fired by Jack, but he used his name to find her another job in the same industry. I learned this from a friend. Jack never guarded himself against me. Out of trust in our marriage, I never checked his accounts. But when I did find some clues, all I could do was sigh and say, the old days are gone. Turns out they got involved with each other a year ago. They met when Lisa was going through a rough time. Maybe Jack saw a part of his past self in her. He showed her extra attention. A freshly graduated girl, throwing herself at him, even if it means getting burned. From her social media, I saw bits and pieces of their story. Or rather, Lisa's one-sided affection. But a post from 3 months ago made me read it over and over again. She wrote, "Today he told me he feels a little something for me. He took me to Disneyland. I love him so much and want to be his wife." There was a blurry photo of Jack's back alongside it. Even so, I recognized him immediately. I clearly remember, we had a big fight around that time, because he wanted me to have his child, but I didn't want to. What did Jack say back then? He said, "Mary, you live too freely. I'm scared I can't keep you." After graduation, I gave up the chance to go abroad to start a business with Jack. When our career was thriving, I chose to pursue my passion for painting instead. After realizing my dream, I started to invest. At one point, I even made more money than Jack. Jack said I had the courage to give up, but he was also scared I might give him up too. There was a comment under that post. Just 2 simple words, delete it, but it was never deleted. Jack's account was new, with nothing on it. When we were dating, he loved all sorts of formalities. He would insist I link our accounts as a couple. I found him childish, he found me boring. He even got mad when I didn't check his phone. "Mary, you're a terrible girlfriend. Don't you worry, I'll cheat on you." That voice, full of hurt and sadness, is still fresh in my memory. Looking back now, maybe my tolerance made him feel his life lacked sweetness, pushing him to break his promises. I wiped the tears from my face. Just as I was about to turn off my phone, a message came in. It was a photo. Jack with Lisa, his nose nuzzling her cheek, both of them smiling widely. He took her shopping and now they're at a hotel. Do I still need to follow them? Tears flooded again. My hands shook as I replied, "No need." The phone fell to the ground with a thud. I rushed to the bathroom with my mouth covered. Sitting pale on the floor, for the first time, I felt utterly helpless. And the person who once promised to always be there for me was now in someone else's bed. I waited for Jack until 3 a.m. As he quietly opened the door, he froze in place. "Baby, why aren't you asleep yet? Didn't I say I had to work late tonight?" I tiredly rubbed my forehead and signaled him, "Sit down. I have something to tell you." He took off his jacket, went to the kitchen, and poured me a glass of hot water. Handing it to me, he said, irritated, "Why are your hands so cold? You're pregnant. Can't it wait till tomorrow?" He tried to carry me to the bedroom. I said, "Sit down," I commanded. Jack pressed his lips together, silently putting his jacket over me. Smelling a scent that's not his, I felt nauseous. I threw it to the ground in disgust, rubbing my aching temple, and moved away a bit. Jack had just sat down when I said, "We're getting a divorce." "What?" He sprang to his feet. "Mary, what do you mean?" "Exactly what you heard. I want a divorce, Jack." I picked up the pregnancy test result from the table and tore it into pieces right in front of him. Jack tried to stop me, but I threw the pre-prepared divorce papers at him. "Sign it." He didn't even look at them before kicking them away. "No, I don't agree." His fists clenched tight. He looked like an enraged lion. "Why? How can you just tell me like this? What do you think I am, Mary?" The man who came home looking so satisfied now lost all his composure. If I kept letting this go, when would Jack ever come clean to me? Maybe after the baby is born. Bring in that woman to be my child's stepmother. No way. I pulled out my phone, played that video, and shoved it in his face. "Jack, how long were you planning to keep this from me? Do you know how much you disgust me right now?" Jack glanced at it, then grabbed the phone, deleted the video, and smashed it. "No, baby, listen, let me explain." He panicked, trying to hug me. Seeing my overly calm expression, tears welled up in his eyes. Jack knelt in front of me. He hugged my legs, his tears soaking that piece of skin. Jack's back was always so straight. He had the pride of a young man, never bending since the day I met him. He's faced many hardships, covered in dirt, but never willing to bow, as if standing tall made him invincible. But now, he looked like a dog, begging for my forgiveness. "Mary, I don't love her, I only love you. I'm begging you, give me another chance. I know you love me too, right? Otherwise, why wait until now to bring up divorce?" Each word Jack said was like a foul swamp, tainting our relationship entirely. "Jack," I squatted down to look at him, listening to his sobs. The pain I felt was no less than his. "Every time, I can't let you go. I watch this video over and over again. I watch how you kiss someone else. I watch how you betray me. I didn't ask for a divorce right away, because I thought it would hurt too much. But now, I don't seem to love you that much anymore. I pried open his fingers one by one and shoved the divorce papers into his hand. I don't want anything. You just need to agree to 2 conditions. First, you completely cut off Lisa's livelihood. Second, you don't fight me for child custody and never show up in their life after they are born. The only sound in the empty living room is Jack sobbing. He clutches the documents tightly, veins bulging on his hand. He holds me from behind, his shoulders shaking, struggling to speak. I can't, that's my child. You can't be this heartless. Who's being heartless? I question him softly. You spent the whole day with Lisa, even messing around in a hotel with her. You weren't here when I was hurting. Jack, who's more heartless? When I came into the room, Jack was sitting on the sofa, staring blankly. He probably didn't expect. On so many nights after that day, he'd use overtime as an excuse to leave me alone at home. I sat on the sofa the same way, but he was lost in another woman's arms. It's no surprise that Jack doesn't want the divorce, but Lisa wanting to meet me, that surprised me. I chose a fancy restaurant. When she arrived, she looked exhausted. Before I could even speak, she started crying. Mary, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have clung to Jack. I beg you, let him go. Oh, I raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I shouldn't have pushed him to divorce you. Now he's done with me, cut me off completely. Mary, I'm only 22. I can't end like this. I smiled at her, not hiding my contempt. Lisa, you think too highly of yourself. Do you think he would divorce me just because of you? I poured her a glass of water and pushed it in front of her. The divorce was my idea, and cutting off your livelihood was my order. Lisa immediately stopped crying and glared at me. I called the waiter and ordered a few dishes. Then I handed her the menu. Pick what you want to eat. It might be a while before you get another chance like this, considering you don't have Jack anymore. I don't care. Lisa slapped the menu onto the ground. The waiter quickly left. Soon, the dishes were brought out. This place was expensive. I used to come here often before being with Jack. He was too poor to afford it. To spare his pride, I only brought him here once. Jack had glanced at the prices and quickly shut the menu, his face showing a trace of embarrassment as he couldn't afford it. Not until his career took off did he have the courage to come to places like this. I imagine he had brought Lisa to quite a few of these places. When you have money, you tend to show it off. I chuckled and took a sip of tea. You said you're only 22. I looked at Lisa, so young and already choosing the wrong path. Ignoring her discomfort, I continued slowly. You were just a pastime for Jack, and you threw your whole self into it. How foolish. So what? Even though he loves you, he still cheated, didn't he? Lisa glared at me, puffed up with anger. I paused for 2 seconds while picking up food, then placed it on her plate. I put down my chopsticks and looked at her. So, what do you still love about him? He can't even give you a proper status. At your age, you should focus on bettering yourself, not breaking into someone's marriage. Jack might seem successful, but I can easily ruin everything he's built, just like how I can ruin you. Lisa looked at me in disbelief, her mouth open, but not daring to say a word. I wiped my mouth and stood up, walking to the door. Lisa, I can't save you. This is what you owe me. I've never been dependent on Jack, so don't think he'll help you either. As I left the restaurant, something came to mind, and I turned back. The waiter came to ask. With a smile, I said, let the lady pay. Don't charge it to me. Before I got home, my mom called. That Jack has been kneeling outside the house for hours. What bad luck. Did you hit him? I asked while fastening my seatbelt. My mom snorted twice. I didn't even bother to look at him. He hasn't achieved anything and already thinks he can cheat. I chuckled but didn't respond. Hearing the noise on my end, she asked, are you driving? I'll hang up, be careful. Before hanging up, she couldn't help but sigh. Your dad is standing up for you. All his business deals are off. Jack's company should be taking a pretty big hit. I support him, but if you disagree, we'll respect your decision too. My eyes felt a bit sore. After thinking for a long time, I didn't stop him. When I got home, I could see the figure kneeling in the yard from afar. His back was still straight as a board. Jack, I walked up to him. Stop kneeling here. My parents don't want to see this. The man's eyes lit up with excitement when he heard my voice, but the moment he heard what I said, his eyes turned red. If you don't forgive me, I won't get up. It was winter, the cold wind cutting like a knife. Jack was only wearing a thin coat. His exposed hands were already red from the cold. Watching this, I remembered. The first 3 years after we got married, he took me up north to see the snow every winter. He held me, warming my hands in his. Snowflakes fell on us, and Jack's smile was brilliant. Together forever, never apart. It's only been 2 years since then, and now, no one is there to see the snow with me. A thick coat was draped over my shoulders. I turned and saw my mom. It's cold, don't catch a chill. My dad stood next to her, gently messing my hair with his warm hands. Your eyes are red from the cold. I looked away to avoid their eyes, and tilted my head slightly to hold back my tears. Jack kowtowed to them. Dad, Mom, don't call us that. I don't have a son like you. My mom pulled me back a step. I looked down into Jack's bloodshot eyes. Jack, I said softly, sign the papers. Your company is waiting for you. If you agree to the divorce, my dad won't touch you. But if you don't, I'll ruin you. Jack was crying, but I saw the hesitation in his eyes. After all, it was with my help that he succeeded. I could help him, or I could destroy him. Moreover, how could his few-year-old company compete with my family's multi-generational business? That night, Jack didn't say anything, but before I went inside, he cried and pleaded. I made a mistake, looking for wholehearted love elsewhere, but I couldn't feel it with you. Mary, you're the one I truly love. Please, can we not get divorced? My home is with you. He kneeled in the cold night, leaving only at dawn. Jack agreed to the divorce, but he didn't agree to my terms. After nearly 2 months, we had another peaceful sit-down. By then, my belly had started to show, but Jack was terrifyingly thin. After a long silence, he looked down at my belly but didn't dare touch it. He sat dejectedly on the sofa, pointing at the agreement on the table. Mary, I can't agree with the second condition. It took a lot for him to say it. He rubbed his reddened eyes, begging me. I am the father. I won't fight for custody, but you can't stop me from seeing my child. He changed a lot in the agreement. He gave me most of the property. His only request was to see the child once a month. But I didn't want to agree. Jack, I won't change my terms. If you really don't agree, we'll see each other in court. And then, I'm leaving the country. You wouldn't even be able to see the child from a distance. The house got emptier after I moved out. The kitchen looked unused for a long time. The place was filled with parenting books. I laughed quietly. What's the point of regret now? Jack broke down. Mary, you can't do this to me. Fine. I stood up. There's no need to talk further. As I walked past him, he grabbed me, kneeling at my feet. I beg you, Mary. Begging is useless. I pulled my hand away. If we can't reach an agreement, then watch as your business falls apart. To pressure him, I not only withdrew my investment from his company, I also went back to my dad's company and took a lot of his resources. Jack's condition worsened, and he was putting less effort into his company, causing dissatisfaction. Many people had already left. If this continued, his company would collapse. By then, he wouldn't have the strength to fight for custody. He realized this too, collapsing at my feet. You're so cruel to me, he said. I thought that was the end. We'd face each other in court. But before I took a few steps, Jack called out to me. He covered his face, tears trickling through his fingers, revealing his disheveled state. Fine, I agree to everything. Mary, can you let me be there when the baby is born? That winter, it snowed heavily, which was rare. Jack sent me a gift. It was a talisman for safety, which he had personally gone to a temple to get in the snow. He didn't see me, just sent a letter. I'm not with you watching the snow this year. Maybe the heavens heard my wish and sent snow right in front of you. The peace charm. I got it after kneeling and praying. No special meaning, just hope you'll be safe. Heard. Jack is so engrossed in his work that, in a few short months, he's sprouted quite a bit of grey hair. His office is filled with a whole row of childcare books. I just smiled when I heard about it. When regret walks ahead of romance, there's no more use in answering. But when I found out about Jack's late-stage stomach cancer, I was still a bit shocked. When we were young, and starting a business was tough, he didn't drink much, even though people tried to make him. Back then, he would just tightly hold my hand, shake his head, and smile. He couldn't bear to let me suffer even a little. I had imagined countless times welcoming our baby in the hospital together, but I never planned I'd be pregnant while facing his toughest moments. I knew you'd come. Jack, looking pale with stubble making him look even weaker, stared at me with a big smile. The wrinkles at the corners of his eyes stretched out. I pulled a chair close and sat down, expressionless. I just came to remind you, don't forget the property transfer papers. His hand by the bed suddenly clenched, but then he sat up, supporting himself. Mary, I'm dying. I might not even see our baby born. He suddenly got excited and grabbed my hand. Could you spend some time with me, please? I frowned, trying to push him away but failing. Seeing my resistance, Jack became more agitated and pressed my neck down. I couldn't even speak before he pinned me to the bedside. The baby. Stop, Jack. The pressure on my abdomen scared me, so I punched him hard in the eye. Ah! He groaned in pain as I shoved him off the bed. I quickly got up and moved towards the door. Mary, you can't leave. Jack's eyes were red and swollen, misty with tears. His face contorted from shouting. You lied to me, didn't you? Struggling with the locked door, I whispered accusingly. He didn't expect me to be so calm, stunned for a moment. As he moved closer, he suddenly took a step back. About a meter away, he caught his breath and forced a smile. I'm not lying. It's true. I'm dying. Can't you forgive me? Is that so? I laughed, eyeing his not-so-thin body sharply. I took out a voice recorder from my bag and pressed play. The doctor spoke clearly. That gentleman just hasn't eaten for 2 days and is weak, but he insisted on staying in ICU and told us to claim he was in late-stage stomach cancer. He gave us a lot of money, and the dean told all of us to keep it a secret. The doctor's words played back, and all the color drained from Jack's face. From the moment I heard about his supposed cancer, I had my doubts. We'd do annual health checkups regularly. This shouldn't happen. When I found out he was at this specific hospital, it made me even more suspicious. Not a well-known hospital, but a no-name small one. Even if he said he wanted peaceful remaining days, I didn't believe it. I had someone investigate before I came here. Jack couldn't understand. He wouldn't know what he wants to hide. I can find out easily. So what? He grabbed my shoulders, pinning me hard against the door. Protecting my belly, I secretly dialed a number behind my back. I just want you to forgive me. What did I do wrong? Why are you so cruel? Just leaving me? Jack started breaking down, tears falling to the ground one by one. You gave up on me first. Whoever betrays true love goes to hell first. Isn't that right, Jack? I looked right into his eyes, watching him try to find his old self in my eyes. Jack crouched on the ground, holding his head in pain. He wiped away a tear and looked up slightly. I couldn't tell if he was talking to me or to himself. I really love you. I was just confused for a moment. Give me one more chance. I swear I won't do this again. As if he had convinced himself, he stood up and smiled at me, trying to please. When the baby is born, you can find someone else too. I kept twisting the doorknob, pretending to listen seriously. Finally, I heard the lock turning outside. As soon as the door opened, Jack's words fell flat. I won't mind. You can get back at me, as long as you don't leave. I'll do anything. Really, but I don't want that. I quickly stepped outside the door. Lisa looked at me, then ran up crying and hugged Jack. Jack didn't even get a chance to finish what he was saying. Lisa started crying out, Jack, I know you don't have long left. It's okay, I'll take care of you. Mary said she approves of us being together, and told me to come find you. I'll be with you through your final moments. You won't be alone. Jack was held so tightly that he couldn't push her away. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. He just looked at me in shock. I touched my belly and laughed. Bless you both. A terminal stomach cancer patient and a hopeless romantic. Oh, and don't forget to give her half of what's left of your assets. She can't find a job because of you. Don't be so heartless. You never know when you might really end up in hell. His angry shouts echoed through the whole floor. On my way down, I ran into the police heading upstairs and handed them a recording pen. Those blinded by power will eventually be bitten back by it. If one loses their bottom line, how can they call themselves human? The day my daughter was born, the sky was crystal clear. I was in the operating room for a day and a night. The stone on my heart didn't fall until I heard her cry. The ward was noisy for a long time, before it finally quieted down. Jack stood outside the room, watching people come and go, but he never stepped inside. Occasionally, our eyes met, and I saw his were bloodshot, with clear dark circles underneath. I placed the baby to the side, only showing him my back. Later, he sent someone to deliver a property transfer agreement to me. It included most of his assets. I signed it without hesitation. When my daughter turned 2, she asked curiously, Mom, where's my dad? I answered without thinking, he's dead. She was sad for a long time, but eventually accepted it and started calling other men dad. Little did I know my words would come true. My daughter saw Jack twice in her life. Once when she was born, too young to remember. The second and last time at his funeral. She asked who he was. I answered, an old friend. Jack's excessive worry and exhaustion eventually made him ill, and he died at 40. He left everything he had to me. I donated it all in my daughter's name. Jack had once painted a vivid part of my life, and then, just like that, it's brushed away.